Good evening, and welcome to today's International News Update. In this report, we bring you the latest developments from the United States, where several major events are shaping both domestic and global headlines. From rising tensions in the Middle East involving American forces to new political debates in Washington and deadly tornadoes across the central states, today's news reflects a period of intense change and uncertainty. Let's begin with the most significant international story involving the United States. The biggest development in global politics today is the escalating conflict between the United States, Israel, and Iran. According to recent reports, the U.S. military has taken part in a series of operations targeting Iranian military infrastructure. The strikes are part of a broader campaign aimed at weakening Iran's military capabilities and preventing threats to regional allies. The conflict has dramatically increased tensions throughout the Middle East and raised fears of a wider regional war. U.S. President Donald Trump has stated that American forces successfully destroyed several Iranian vessels suspected of laying mines in the strategically important Strait of Hormuz. The president warned that the United States would respond strongly if Iran attempts to block oil transportation routes in the region. The war has also sparked strong debate within the United States itself. Across several American cities, protests have been organized both in support of and against the military campaign. Demonstrators opposing the strikes argue that the United States should avoid another prolonged conflict in the Middle East. Some groups warn that military escalation could lead to a broader international crisis. At the same time, other groups, including some Iranian-American communities, have expressed support for the operations, believing they could weaken Iran's current leadership. Political leaders in Washington remain divided over how far the United States should go in its military involvement. President Donald Trump has acknowledged that deploying American ground troops to Iran is not currently planned, but he has also stated that such an option cannot be completely ruled out in the future if necessary. The ongoing debate highlights the complexity of U.S. foreign policy decisions and the challenges faced by American leaders during times of international conflict. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most critical shipping routes in the world, responsible for transporting a significant portion of global oil supplies. Any disruption to shipping in this narrow waterway could have major consequences for global energy markets. Meanwhile, Iran has launched retaliatory missile and drone attacks targeting oil infrastructure and shipping routes in the Gulf region. The continued exchange of attacks has increased concerns among international leaders that the situation could spiral into a larger war. The Guardian. In addition, reports from the United Nations indicate that more than 1,000 civilians have reportedly been killed in the conflict so far, while thousands of buildings and civilian sites have been damaged during the ongoing strikes. Meanwhile, political tensions inside Washington have intensified due to a controversial new voting proposal. President Trump has recently urged Congress to pass a strict voter identification law known as the Save America Act. The proposed legislation would require proof of citizenship in order to vote and would also limit the use of mail-in ballots to specific circumstances such as illness, disability, or military service. The Guardian. Supporters of the bill argue that it would help prevent election fraud and strengthen confidence in the electoral system. However, critics claim the law could make it more difficult for millions of Americans to vote, particularly those who lack certain documents or face bureaucratic barriers. Voting rights organizations have warned that the proposal could potentially disenfranchise large numbers of voters and spark legal challenges in the future. The debate over election laws continues to be one of the most divisive issues in American politics today.
In addition to political tensions, the United States is also facing serious natural disasters. Over the past few days, a series of powerful tornadoes swept across several central states, causing widespread destruction and loss of life. At least 8 people have died and dozens more have been injured after multiple tornadoes struck areas including Michigan and Oklahoma. Entire neighborhoods were severely damaged, with homes destroyed and debris scattered across communities. The Guardian. Meteorologists reported that some of the tornadoes reached EF2 and EF3 strength, with wind speeds approaching 160 miles per hour. These powerful storms tore roofs from buildings, uprooted trees, and knocked down power lines throughout affected areas. Wikipedia. Emergency services and rescue teams have been working around the clock to assist residents and search for survivors. Local authorities have declared states of emergency in several regions, while federal agencies are coordinating disaster relief efforts. Experts say severe weather events such as tornado outbreaks may become more frequent due to changing climate patterns and warming global temperatures. The ongoing war and global tensions have also begun to affect the American economy. Energy markets remain volatile due to concerns about oil supplies from the Middle East. If shipping routes through the Strait of Hormuz become disrupted, the global price of oil could increase sharply. Higher oil prices often lead to higher transportation costs and increased prices for everyday goods. In addition, mortgage rates in the United States have also slightly increased this week. The average interest rate for a 30-year mortgage has risen to just over 6%, reflecting broader economic uncertainty. Economists say the coming months could be challenging for both businesses and consumers as global tensions continue to affect financial markets. In summary, the United States is currently facing several major challenges at both domestic and international levels. The ongoing conflict in the Middle East has placed the country at the center of global geopolitical tensions. At the same time, political divisions in Washington continue to shape the national debate over voting rights and government policy. Meanwhile, severe tornadoes have caused tragedy in several states, reminding Americans of the devastating power of natural disasters. As these events continue to unfold, the world will be closely watching how the United States responds to these complex challenges.